Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's AirTrain Newark Guideway and Station Industry Forum. I just want to address some housekeeping items before we move forward. I'm Reynaldo Cotto. I'm a representative of the AirTrain Newark Replacement Program. And so just to get us started, just want to address a few things. Firstly, as you may have noticed, this event is indeed being recorded. We do intend on sharing this recording as a follow-up along with a copy of the PowerPoint. Additionally, as you also may have noticed, the video and voice has been disabled for anyone who is not a presenter, just to streamline the event. So in that case, please feel free to place any questions in the chat box. We will be having two Q&A sessions, the first one being Port Authority centric, second one being directly for the shortlisted proposer teams that we have here today. So with that being said, I will hand it over to our host for today's event, Anthony Miller.
Yes, good afternoon, all. Thank you for being here. We thank you for the opportunity to converse about this project and the importance of this project. Again, I'm Anthony Miller. I'm the Compliance Program Manager in the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And at the behest of my chief, Jose Fribile, my director, Dr. Keith Bright, and my assistant director, Vanessa Gordon, we are happy to present this presentation and this workshop about this upcoming project. So as you can see on the screen, we have our presenters for today that will talk about various segments of the project. And we will get started with our first presenter, Mr. Ryan Hatch. He's a senior program manager for EWR, which is Newark Airport Redevelopment, Newark Liberty International Airport, specifically redevelopment. So Mr. Hatch, take over. The floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Anthony. We can go to the next slide, please. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll kick this off with a little background on the project. So in order to deliver a complete and operational AirTrain, the Port Authority is pursuing a multi-contract approach to this work. The Guideway and Stations contract, which is the subject of today's briefing, is just one component of a larger program, and you can see the other major components on this slide. The first two items on the slide, the early works and the system technology projects, are well underway and in active procurements. We expect the first three early works packages to start construction late this year or early next. For the system technology contract, we've shortlisted 3 teams and we expect to award later this year. The maintenance and control facility, or the MCF, as well as the pedestrian connections, are in the early stages of design, so stand by for more information on those. And then once the new AirTrain is operational, we're going to look to demolish the existing system. The status of that project will be provided at a future time. Finally, we'll be looking to issue contracts for the operations and maintenance of the new facilities, the fixed facilities, that is, once the designs have been advanced to a sufficient level. So again, we'll have more information on those contracts as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit more about what does this contract entail. So the scope of work is the design and construction of the civil infrastructure components of the AirTrain. What is that? That's 2.5 miles of elevated guideway structure. It's 3 stations, including the back of house areas. It's also a design of what we call a future station 2, patron conveyances and assembly areas, restoration of roadways, parking lots, entrances, and other aspects of the airport that are impacted by the work, as well as associated site work and utilities. Now, just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what the project is going to look like, if you refer to the image on the right, the guideway alignment is shown in green, while the stations are shown in red. Starting from the right side of the image, we have Station 1, which will connect our passengers to the brand new Terminal A, as well as the new public parking and consolidated rental car facility. And then if you follow the green alignment to the north, you have the location of the proposed future Station 2. And again, that will just be a design for this contract. Farther north from there, you have Station 3, which will provide connections to existing facilities such as Terminal C, Terminal B, and P4. From there, the alignment crosses over the highway, DOT 1 and 9. It follows the existing AirTrain alignment, where you have the new railing station, which is parallel to the northeast corridor. Then finally, to the very north of the alignment, which is the far bottom left corner of the image there, not part of this contract, but it's relevant for this discussion, is the location of the maintenance and control facility. Next slide, please. A little bit about timing, duration. So the overall project duration is about 6 years. The anticipated dates for the design, we're looking to start September 2024. That process will continue through to about June 2026, with construction anticipated between April 25 and July of 28. And that'll all culminate, testing commissioning will follow that. We'll have through May 2027, up until June 2029, which all culminates in the first passenger service at mid to late 2029. So that concludes the project overview. I'll hand over to the next presenter, which I believe is Glenessa.
Thank you, Ryan, and good afternoon, everyone. If you could go to the next slide, please. So as many of you know, with your involvement, through your involvement with the Port Authority and our offices, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion offers many opportunities through certification. So we have a variety of programs that helps the region's MBEs, which minority business owners, women-owned businesses, service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, small businesses, and DBEs participate in all of the opportunities with the Port Authority. So not only with the Port Authority, but also with our partners and our tenants. At the Port Authority, our operations do reflect, and we believe that our operations should reflect the diversity of our communities. So with that, we have a 20% MBE goal, a 10% WBE goal, and a 3% service-disabled veteran-owned business. So all of our partners, whether they are come to us through tenants, whether they're public-private partners, design-build projects, we expect for everyone to embrace these goals. On each of our projects, and projects such as these multi-phase projects, if we could go to the next slide, please. On each of projects such as this, where there are multi-phase projects, we require those goals to be on each phase of the project. So when we look at design phase or we look at the construction phase, we look for those goals to be on each side, the 20%, 10%, and the 3% to be, whether it's design or construction, to be on that part, because we want to ensure that one part of the project is not getting the bulk of the participation, which happens often with construction. We also look at the various categories of work. So whether that's professional services, A&E, architectural and engineering, or non-architectural and engineering, or if it's in the construction phase, we also want to ensure that our MWBs are utilized in all of those categories, and also that utilization is spread across all of our racial and ethnic groups. The certification on the next slide, in terms of to be eligible for a certification, we have two different programs that will be included in this particular project. One is MBE and the WBE that we spoke about, I mentioned before. And in order to be considered for an MBE or a WBE, they have to be 51% owned and managed. by a minority or a women-owned, depending on which type of certification you're going for. And they have to be permanent residents or citizens of the U.S. So that managed part, we're looking for them to make those critical day-to-day decisions, meaning that they should be involved in the business and know the business. That should be their main area of work in terms of on this business. In looking at that, we want to ensure that those capital contributions are real and substantial, that they've actually made a contribution, a capital contribution to that project. These certifications are valid for 5 years, and we look for the businesses that are going to be certified in these areas to have been in business for at least 1 year. The SDVOB program or certification is similar in terms of being owned and managed, but they have to be owned and managed by a service-disabled veteran-owned business. They have to show us that they have a SDVOB status from the government. They have to also have their principal place of business either in New York or New Jersey, or a significant presence in New York or New Jersey, and to also qualifying for our SDVOB program. And those limits are actually governed by the U.S. Small Business Administration, and you can find that on their page in terms of what the requirements are for the Small Business Administration. So next slide, please. In order to become certified, first you should go to our supplier diversity page or our diversity software page, where that location is here in terms of panyj.diversitysoftware.com. And when you go here, you actually create an account and ensure that you complete all of the parts of the applications with the documents, that the documents are dated correctly. And when you make that submission, that you're submitting everything that's there. If you don't, or if the dates are incorrect or the documents aren't correct, then your application will be returned. Once you submit the application, that starts our review time. Typically, it takes about up to or under 60 days for the MBE and WBE, as well as the SDVOB certification. And next page, please. So in this project, we also look for local businesses. Now, when we're for that, we ask that the primes prioritize their participation in each of those categories that I spoke about before, which design, construction, as well as professional services and goods and services. For local, we divide them into tiers, where the first tier is Newark and Elizabeth. The second tier, which is Priority Zone 1A, and that includes municipalities within a 5-mile radius of the border of the airport. And you can see that here on the slide. The second priority is all firms within Essex County, Hudson County, and Union County, outside of Newark and Elizabeth. Newark and Elizabeth are not included in Tier 2 because they're included in Tier 1. So next slide. So the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, we work with the primes as well as the subs in order to ensure that we meet these goals. We ask for the primes to develop a roadmap to show us how do they plan on meeting these goals, and which of the categories do they plan on using MWBEs and SDVOBs, and we ask them to provide a participation plan before the contract is awarded to them to show us how they're going to meet that goal. We take into consideration meaningful operation or opportunities for these MBEs, WBEs, and SDVOBs. We want to ensure that it's across all the phases and categories, as I mentioned before, and all the tiers of work that's available. We're strongly encouraging LBE participation for these opportunities, as we showed in the earlier slide. And we want to ensure that these packages that they're in line with the available pool of firms. So we want to make sure that when the primes come to us, the potential packages that they're offering align with the availability, that who's actually in our region and the MWBEs who can perform this work. Next slide, please. We also look for diversity within diversity, meaning that we look at we want the diversity of the team to represent the region that we're in and the available pool of firms in all of those work areas and tiers, whether it's professional services, goods and services, or construction. So just to give an example of this, that when we look for the diversity within diversity, what might not represent it is if all of the MBEs in a specific category are only for one or two minority groups. We look for them to include, again, groups that represent the area. And in this particular area, New York, New Jersey metropolitan area, we do have a diverse pool of firms. Also, we work with the primes to ensure that their process for pre-qualifying, if applicable, if they do, and their process for selecting those firms is transparent, that they can show us how they selected the firms, especially if they indicate that they cannot meet the goals. Capacity building programs, you have heard from a lot of our major primes that they do have capacity building programs. We look for them to have it on projects such as this, which could include financial support, technical guidance, training, and other support services based on what's required for that project. And one of the major areas, whether it's a prime, the subs, or anybody who does business with the Port Authority, we want them to be in accordance with the Port Authority's standard, which is our supplier code of ethics. We also look for prompt payments and to meet all of those contract requirements and that we have and that we ask for. So next, I'm going to turn it over to provide a little bit more about the procurement process. Raquel Pintos will give you an overview.
Great. Thanks so much, Glenessa, and afternoon, everyone. As Glenessa mentioned, I'm Raquel Pinto, leading the procurement effort for the Guideway and Stations opportunity for the AirTrain Newark redevelopment program. With this, firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for the MBE, WBE, SDVOB, and LBE industry outreach event. As a procurement contact, you can feel free to reach out to me with any questions, and I can guide you in the right direction as it relates to certification or partnering or aspects of the procurement. With that, one of the items we wanted to start off with today, and we're sure is top of mind, is the overall procurement schedule, in addition to what Ryan showed you earlier. So what you could see here as part of the procurement is that we have several phases that we are going through until the end of 2024. So from here, the anticipated request for proposals, that was already achieved. And last month, we had issued the materials and technical requirements not the technical requirements, the commercial requirements to the shortlisted proposers that you'll be hearing from today last month. Today, we're holding our very proud outreach event with the community. And so the next big milestones as we continue the procurement are the dates of the proposals. And so we have the technical and price proposals, both of which are due in Q2 and Q3 of 2024. So the reason we want to flag this and why this is important to the MWBE, SDVOB, and LB community is that within those proposals, there are sections that are evaluated by the Port Authority that help with the selection. One of the big ones is the encouragement and the utilization plan. And so one of the elements that helps make the selection is their overall utilization plan. And so what that means is the partnerships and commitments that they already have from subcontractors that help achieve those goals for this overall project. This is a big component and will lead to how we select the proposers moving forward. And so again, this is to achieving the goals that Glenessa had walked you through. So 20% MBE, 10% WBE, 3% SDVOB, and LBE is 10%. And so for all of those, how they achieve the goals in each of the different phases of work. And so it's really important that from now until Q2 and Q3 of 2024, you really do your outreach with the shortlisted teams you're going to hear from, ensure that they have a great utilization plan and maximize your opportunity for a partnership and work with this project. Another element of importance is the overall engagement plan. So also assessing the proposers here of how they engage throughout the procurement process and even after, holding additional outreach events, communicating with you all, sending email blasts, capacity building programs through this. We'll also want an overview of their monitoring plan, how they intend to ensure that these goals are achieved with the subcontractors that are effective throughout the overall process. And then again, as mentioned with the local hiring goal of 10%, we really are looking for encouragement to achieve that goal within this project. We do have a specific focus for what we're calling our local 1 priorities. So for those staff and firms that are headquartered in the Elizabeth and Newark area. And again, with this, again, that's Q2 and Q3. And then as Ryan mentioned before, we are looking to have this authorized by the end of next year. And so again, within that time is key to get in early for these opportunities. Then moving on to how you can contact us with this, again, as I see being asked a few times, but we will certainly have this recording posted on our Port Authority website. So you can see here towards the bottom under procurement for alternative project delivery, we'll be having all the contact information you see here from not only the Port Authority, but the shortlisted teams. So that'll be the recording and the presentation itself. But of course, other helpful resources that we definitely encourage you all to utilize throughout this process and beyond is over to the outreach offices. If you have any questions that may not fit into the procurement mold, please feel free to reach out and everyone will guide you to the right person. For those that are not certified, but on this call, we certainly encourage you to get certified before the deadlines for these proposals so you can be, part of the goals and make the partnerships with the primes you'll be hearing from today. And if you have any additional certification questions, please reach out to certhelp@panyj.com. Additionally, we have some resources here for you all when it comes to the AirTrain redevelopment program. Similarly, you'll have our website here where you'll find resources not only about the AirTrain project, but the ongoings of all of Newark. And then their website to reach out to as well for AirTrain events at panyj.gov. And as already mentioned, the last site will have the procurement opportunities for you. So with that, again, with the next slide being my personal contact information at the Port Authority, please feel free to utilize that today and again through the process. When I work with the primes, I'm the lead and the main point of contact between the proposer teams that were shortlisted earlier this year and the future work that's going to be selected. So with that, please reach out to my email address there, rpinto@panyj.gov, and look forward to hearing from you. And thank you again for your time. With that, I'd now like to turn it over to Wilnell Martinez from the Government Community Relations Group to walk you through the outreach team.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wilnell Martinez here on Government Community Relations Outreach Team. Next slide. So I just wanted to cover what the community engagement looks like on our end from the team. Our role really entails to inform the community. We inform the community via our stakeholders, our elected officials, our council members, our close community business organizations that we partner in the city of Newark and in the city of Elizabeth. We like to connect and partner doing programmings and support of not only the business end of the opportunities, but also workforce development. So you might hear and see a lot of job fairs and partnerships in the city of Newark and Elizabeth, working with EDC, Newark Works, and such CBOs in the community. And supports provided for businesses, we assist with the certification process with the Port Authority, local MWBEs, SDVOB, LBE, and the job-seeking community, as I mentioned. For our contact, please feel free to reach out to myself or my counterpart, Natasha Lucia, or you can visit our website as well at anewewr.com and our main general inquiry email. It is monitored very frequently a new EWR at panyj.gov. We have 2 offices that can also, you can do an appointment with myself or Natasha. In Newark, it would be 89 Market Street, Newark, New Jersey, or in Elizabeth, it would be 79 West Jersey Street, Elizabeth. All right, so in the chat, I will leave my email and my colleague's email. Should you need any advice on how to begin your process or any information connecting to an analyst, that would be us helping you out. All right, so thank you so much. Next slide. All right, I'll pass it over to Mr. Brownie Johnson from Structured Concepts. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, for starters?
Clear, yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, let me get started here. Let me start you off with a little bit of my background and why I'm here today as part of this program. And it goes back to the early 90s when I was a contractor under Johnson Electric, and I was the president of Johnson Electric. I attended an outreach event similar to this for the last section of the existing monorail at Newark Airport. And that was back in 1999. And my company was successful in not only bidding the project, but winning a good portion of the electrical for that project. And since then, I have devoted myself to supporting the contracting community with information that I've gained over the years from my own personal experiences as an owner and as a certified member of the Port Authority's program. That being said, fast forward to today, I am now the owner of Structured Concepts, LLC, which is devoted to supporting the contracting community, primarily focused on the Port Authority and Port Authority related projects. During that time, as Structured Concept, I've had the ability to work with some very devoted folks from within the Port Authority who have been focused on providing opportunities and engagement with the community through diversity and inclusion. And that has become sort of a motivating force for me to stand with folks and try to support the community in getting access to these opportunities. Now, since I've been in the position under Structured Concepts, I've had the good fortune to work with hundreds of certified firms within the Port Authority database who've attended outreach events similar to this. And a couple of things that I've learned from that exposure, specifically 3 important elements come out of being successful or being able to engage in projects of this magnitude. And first and foremost, to me, it's education, which is why my role in this event is to inform you of the educational support that I provide to the contracting community in support of these types of projects. So education being number one. The second one, I would say, is the opportunity, the ability to come to one of these events and realize the opportunity. Because sometimes it's not always 100% clear. You have to be a little bit creative to find opportunities within projects of this magnitude. And that's something I find myself helping companies with more and more as time goes on, because these are complex, high profile programs. And sometimes it's just not clearly defined as to, well, where do I fit within this complex? So that's one of the things that I try to do. Also, the third element that I think is important to have when trying to approach and getting involved in this is that commitment to do whatever is necessary to get the job done. And I think with those 3 elements, the education and access to the opportunity and the commitment to complete the work by any means necessary to get it done, those are the 3 pillars to success in this particular type of construction environment. And again, my role here is to help with all three of those, primarily with the educational portion of it. I want to make sure that everyone on the call realizes the importance of taking advantage of the information and the support being offered by the Port Authority. It's I can't explain how important it is. It's just that important. If you plan or you're serious about pursuing these opportunities, you have to stay informed. I would also encourage you to be proactive in reaching out and contacting the folks on the call, the teams on the call today, because you need to be in the forefront soon as possible, early as possible. Let them know who you are and what you're capable of doing. And at the same time, you get a chance to see who they are and who you could potentially be working with. So it's important to engage proactively the proposer teams that are on this call today. So I encourage you all to do that, and I encourage you to do it as soon as you have the information necessary to contact these teams. All that being said, it's my hope that I get a chance to work with you folks in the future and help you, pursue this goal and help you achieve it and be successful at it. So with that, I'm going to wish all on the call good luck going forward, and I look forward to interacting with you in the future. My contact information there on the screen. If you'd like, I can throw it into the chat box so you can copy and paste it into your own document. But basically, that's it. And again, I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Brownie and the Port Authority team. Now, before we get into the much excited portion of the of today's presentation, where we present to you the shortlisted proposers, each of which have their own presentation to give, we first have a Q&A portion here for the Port Authority. So we're going to be reviewing in the chat box. If you have any questions for myself, Ryan Hatch, Glenessa Gordon, Wilnell Martinez, or Brownie Johnson, please add in the chat, and we'll review now for about 10 minutes before we move forward with the presentation. But again, should you have any questions after this time period, please feel free to reach out to any of us in the future for assistance.
So Raquel, I did see one question. A person
Yes,
asked, how do
please.
they access like the RFPs that went out already? Say, where can they find them?
Sure. So for the RFP itself, those were issued directly to the shortlisted proposers. It worked as that we had the RFQ phase. From the pool, we evaluated their qualifications and shortlisted the 4, and so those were received directly. Should you have any questions, you're looking to partner with one of the primes that you'll be hearing from in just a few moments, they can share some of the materials after NDAs are signed, but it was direct solicit. Yeah, thanks for flagging, Anthony. I think I'm seeing a few other questions come through. Will a list of the prime contractors be provided? So as a vendor, we know who to reach out to. Yes, absolutely. In the next portion of the presentation, all of the prime contractors, so we have 4 teams, will have their contact information available. And again, we'll be posting this presentation on our website, so that way you can reach out to any and all of them as you so choose. And then wonderful. I'm seeing a lot of folks providing their contact information, which we think is great. I'd also encourage you that on the Port Authority procurement website under alternative project delivery for this opportunity, there is a link there where you can show your interest by providing similar information with your name, contact information, and scope of work. And that way the primes that you'll be hearing from today can also contact you that way. Definitely strongly encourage that. And then just giving a few moments for everyone who has any questions.
Raquel, if you don't mind, can I read some of the
please.
questions I'm seeing on my end?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have Ruben here asking, do we need to be pre-qualified to access the bid opportunities?
So for those RFP materials, yes, it was through the pre-qualification. We issued the RFQ back in March, and from there we made selection. So it was pre-qualified, but again, if you then end up partnering as a subcontractor with one of these primes, you can work with them, provide your NDAs to the Port Authority, and then have access to the materials that way. But in terms of getting subcontracting opportunities with the primes, you don't need to pre-qualify. You would make yourselves part of their team, and then whoever is awarded as a preferred proposer in Q3 and Q4 of 2024 will then gain the opportunity and award of the work.
All right, I hear we have, would you suggest pursuing DBE certification if you already have an MWBE?
Sure. So I could start, Glenessa, and then I'll turn over to you. So for DBE, this opportunity is not federally funded, and therefore we don't have the DBE requirements. However, Glenessa, let us know if that's helpful for any of our other projects.
Raquel, I can jump in here.
Oh, great, Anthony.
No problem. So the answer is yes. What Raquel just stated is accurate, that this particular opportunity, it's not a federally funded program, which requires DBE. However, we do have other projects. If you have been monitoring the federal government with the Biden administration, the BIL bill, those projects will be federally funded projects. And under those, there will be DBE goals. So in order to participate on any infrastructure projects that are funded by those BIL grants coming out of federal government, DB certification will be required. And if you do not have it, I suggest you pursue it now and have it in place versus trying to pursue it once the contracts hit the street. Because as you know, once they hit the street, there's a time clock on procurement process, and they're not going to wait for you to get certified, or anyone for that matter.
Oh, very helpful. Thanks, Anthony. And then, well, I think you and I can take a look at some of these questions, see what else we're gathering here.
I see here, is there a special inspections material testing in this project?
So with that one, Ryan, if you're still on with us, if you want to take it about if there's special inspections and material testing involved.
Yes, there are.
Okay, there we are. So definitely opportunity for those.
Does an MBE certification have to be with a PA, or SBS will be acceptable?
This is a PA funded project. You need to be PA certified. Right. So for clarification, the Port Authority does not receive state funding from New York or New Jersey. So when we talk about certification, it's PA specific certification for PA funded projects. If it's federally funded through the USDOT, then DBE goals apply. And that's why we mentioned it earlier.
Anthony, while we still have you, can you walk through if there's a certification process for LBEs?
So no, there's not a certification project process at this time. We do not have, the Port Authority does not have a LBE certification like the City of New York, right? So the LBE is designated by the footprint of where the site is, and firms that are within that footprint. And that's why we define it by the area that you're in as LBE versus you having a specific LBE certification. So for those who have New York City LB certification, it does not apply here. It's not based on that. It's based on firms that are located within the footprint of the actual facility, being businesses that will be considered local based on that footprint.
No, fantastic. I think I'm seeing another question here for procurement. Is there still an opportunity to be pre-qualified with the Port Authority? So in terms of being pre-qualified as a prime member, excuse me, as you'll hear from the teams, we have those that are going to be the lead contractors, lead designers of the teams. So that portion has ended. However, again, you could still partner as subcontractors with these entities and join them overall. With that, then the teams can just provide the Port Authority if you're going to be on as a key subcontractor with what we're calling a team structure amendment, and you'll be able to join that way per the purview of the Port Authority. So it's not a formal process where you provide information online, but working with the 4 teams that you'll be hearing with today to gain opportunity with the AirTrain Guideway and Stations project.
So Raquel, can I add to that?
Of course.
So for projects other than this, right? What Raquel said is absolute. If you're looking to become pre-qualified with the Port Authority for other projects, you can register via our procurement portal, paprocure.com. That could be provided. You can register your firm as your professional services firm as well as your vendor. It's for free, and you can register, and that'll put you in a position to when we have contracts that are issued through our different line departments, you being registered, they use that directory to identify firms. So you can do that registration and be considered pre-registered. If you're construction firms, and you looking to get our SBE, Small Business Enterprise Certification, to be a direct sub to the PA and not a sub to a prime vendor, you can apply for that certification. That's for construction-based firms. And again, there's a pre-qualification that happens there. So if you say you do electrical, we're going to check your references. If you say you do carpentry, etc. So it's not just the certification of your firm, it's also a pre-qualification through our engineering department. Again, outside of this project, what these are for other PA funded projects, not for this one.
Yeah, very clear. No, good add-on, Anthony. Okay. Seeing maybe Brian, if you're with us, and saying, would the project require 3PL transportation logistics to be provided?
Is that one for me, Raquel?
It is, Ryan. I could repeat. Does this
Sure.
project require 3PL, so transportation or logistics, to be provided as part of the work?
I'm not familiar with 3PL, but there certainly will be transportation and logistics scope as part of the work.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ryan. And I will just say, for those asking questions, you'll be hearing from each of the teams about what trades for their team they find to be available. So stay tuned there. Then, Anthony, another one for you. How long can the MBE certification delay take if there's wrong or missing documentation provided?
So I'm not part of the certification team, so I will not provide you exacts. What I will say, the timeline starts once a full application is submitted, right? So from the date of a full application, our timeline is estimated at 60 to 90 days for MBE or WBE certifications. And again, it's based on backlog as well. But if an application is submitted, and of course, if it's not complete, then the timeline hasn't started until you submit a complete application. So that can extend the process for a firm who's submitting a application that's incomplete from 90 days to 120 to a year if missing information is not provided, right? So the timeline is based on when the complete application is submitted.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, the quicker you submit the information, if we come back to you and ask for an update on information, the quicker you submit it, of course, the quicker we can get it done. We typically, for non-MBEs, our goal is 60 days. For non-DBEs, our goal is 60 days. For MBEs, WBEs, SDVOBs, and that includes the 60 days. DBEs, the federal government gives us 90 days to do that. But again, as Anthony said, once you complete it, the quicker you give us that updated information, just ensure that all of your dates are right and the documents are right when you submit it. And quite often, we can do it in less than 60 days. That's the top in terms of when we want to get that certification done.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you both. I think we're just going to have two more questions now. But again, as always, we're available as a resource. Should you have more that you think about after the session, again, reach out to the resources. I think one that I'm seeing here is, again, for Anthony Glenessa. So NYC SBS certified MBE is also not acceptable. Is that correct for this project?
That is correct for this project. Again, we don't receive state or city funding from New York City or from New Jersey, state of New Jersey. So those certifications are not priority over Port Authorities. You need Port Authority certification to receive credit participation on a Port Authority funded project such as this AirTrain project.
Perfect. And I think the last I'm seeing here is, so one of the 4 shortlisted firms will be the prime contractor. So yes, that's correct. So one of the 4 teams that you're hearing from, again, some of them are multiply joint ventured, will be awarded the contract. Again, that'll take place in Q3 or Q4 of next year. And so they will be awarded the work. But again, as we mentioned, we encourage you all to reach out to all or several of them that have the trades that you're looking for to comprise their teams to have some of the work. But again, it won't end at procurement. There'll still be more opportunities as we continue, but we did want to alert you all as soon as possible. But with that, Anthony, I'll turn it back over to you as MC to bring us to the second portion of today's event.
Thank you, Raquel. And I must add for the Port Authority, for those who are on the line, we are the best certifying agency in the region in terms of our backlog and how we expedite certification. So you can look at all the other certifying agencies in terms of their timeline and their turnaround, and we are the best in the region. So if you have not done your certification, I would implore you to start the process, and we will address it, sooner than later, and help you build your opportunities within the region, because one certification for the Port Authority opens you up both to New York and New Jersey. So it's worth 6 other certifications within the region, just so you know. All right. So next, to run the show, please, we have our shortlisted proposers and our teams, as is stated on the slide. We have Liberty Air Partners, we have CFH Airtrain Partners, we have Liberty Airtrain Constructors, and we have Tudor Perini / ONG, a joint venture. So the partners will proceed in this order. So first, we would turn it over to Liberty Aerial Partners. Mr. David Matthews. Matthews, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Matthew, DB Compliance Coordinator from Skanska USA Civil Northeast. Proud to be here today. Thank you, Anthony. So who we are, Liberty Aerial Partners. Skanska is a global construction company, one of the world's leading construction companies, leading the design build effort. Skanska Civil Northeast, we are the infrastructure powerhouse of the company. We have Building, who is the vertical, building north to south, and Koch, our steel and bridge company specializing in steel. And these 3 units of Skanska comprises the Liberty Aerial Partners. Just want to point out the pictures on the screen here. The left one, Moynihan Train Hall, that used to be the Farley Post Office. We redid that in New York City. The picture in the middle, top middle, is the LaGuardia Terminal B redevelopment, which I was on for about 4 years. Below is the Penn Station Improvement Project. And to the right, just a fun fact, all 3 business units, Skanska USA Civil, Skanska USA Building, and Skanska Koch, we all helped build the JFK Airport AirTrain back in the days in Queens, New York. Next slide, please. Lead designer, AECOM. Skanska and AECOM have worked together on numerous design build projects. Not sure if Nelson Monticello is on the call as well. But here we have, he's the representative from AECOM, but here we have the picture to the left, the REM Metropolitan Express Network Light Rail in Montreal, Canada, the Union Pearson Express Air Rail Link in Toronto, Canada, as well as the design build Penn Station Phase 1 and Phase 2 here in Manhattan, New York. Next slide as well. So some of the opportunities here on the construction side, we want to engage with you, the members of the MWBE, SDVOBE, local business community, to work on this project with us. We intend to build a strong, diverse team that is representative of the community, spurs economic growth, and fosters inclusivity. There are many opportunities, as you can see, for subcontractors, service providers, and suppliers to work with us on the project. This represents just a sampling of the opportunities that will be available. Some of the opportunities here range from concrete to masonry, roofing, carpentry, flooring, paving, waterproofing, some material and supplies. Do see field office cleaning. I did get a few emails previously about final cleaning, which, that's here and there, usually towards the end of the project. But as I said, these are just a sample of some of the opportunities that are available. Next slide. On the design side, design, architectural engineering, We do have, geotechnical soil borings, different civil, electrical, lighting design, low voltage, fire alarm design, bridge design, which is big, some early site environmental work and soil analysis, which is awesome. So if you need any information on that, pretty sure there's more opportunities. Please contact me or Nelson Monticello from ACOM. Next slide. So as I said, this previous slide, those were just a sample, but please email me if your scope is not listed, and I'll point you in the right direction. Early bird gets the early worm, so early engagement is our focus. Our team believes in early engagement. That's the key to successfully contracting with the MW, SDVOB, and local businesses. We look forward to working with the PA Office of Diversity and Inclusion to host and attend events and to help identify certified firms interested in partnering with us. We identify the scope of works necessary to build the project. We'll then go to the PANYNJ database directory and search for the firms certified to perform that work. That is why it's important that certified firms check their profile, make sure all the information is correct. Email, address, business description, commodity codes. Please make sure all your documents and paperwork is in order. Your business model might have changed from when you guys first became certified. So if your profile is outdated, we might not find you when running our searches on the database. We've had success in hosting trade events, specific trade events, and numerous meet and greet sessions. The non-minority subcontractors that work with us also have a lower tier participation goal and requirement within contract. So we connect the non-minority firms of a specific trade with certified subcontractors and suppliers in that same field. These firms, they get to know each other, sharpen their pencil, build a relationship, and successfully work on other projects, hopefully on this project and current or future projects going forward. We will participate in industry events, as I said. We'll work with local organizations to raise awareness of opportunities on the project and get connected with your business. We have proactively met with NRBP, Newark, Port Authority, and we'll continue to work with them to meet new certified firms and local businesses surrounding the airport. Hey, if this project is in your backyard, you should have an opportunity to work with us and work on it. With the assistance of the local Chamber of Commerce and the PA, we were very successful in engaging with local businesses on the LaGuardia Airport project that I mentioned earlier, with over about $650 million in contracts awarded to local businesses. We will advertise subcontracting opportunities in local and trade publications, such as New Jersey Biz, to broadcast the opportunities to a wider audience and cast a wider net. We set up a general email address, libertyairrail@skanska.com, which I'll drop in the chat box after this presentation. And if you don't know who to get in touch with on our team, you can definitely send us an email to the general inquiry email address, which I monitor personally. If I don't know the answer, I'll shoot it over to an estimator or a project manager handling that scope of work. We've used the same approach on many pursuits, including LGA, where once again, we've had over 300 certified firms with over 600 contracts totaling over $900 million. My colleague Rosemary actually was on the Moynihan Station for a few years, and that project was the first project New York State issued with the SDVOB goal. On that project, we subcontracted over $385 million to close to 200 MWBEs and SDVOBs, as well as local businesses. So with that, we are looking forward to speaking with you, doing business with you, and working with you in the near future. Once again, our general email address is libertyairrail@skanska.com. So please send me your capability statements, qualifications, so we can get the ball rolling and get started. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Thank you to the Port Authority. Thank you to New Jersey. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Appreciate it. So next, we will have the CFH AirTrain Partners team, and it'll be led by Mr. Kevin Conaboy. Hopefully I got that right, Mr. Conaboy. The floor is yours.
Actually, I apologize. I'm actually taking the lead on this. My name is Mark Pereira. I'm the estimator for Conti. Now, our team consists of 3 JV partners, Conti Civil, FCC, and Hunter Roberts. Both Conti and Hunter Roberts are local companies. FCC is an international firm with a strong presence in the U.S. and headquarters currently in Miami. Our engineer for the project is Matt McDonald, and our architect is Sowinski Sullivan. Right now, members from each one of our partners or my colleagues are on this conference. So if there's any questions at the end directed towards any one of the firms, we can answer those questions. On the screen, you'll see a QR code. I suggest you don't have to do it now, but at some point, go in, register, because we're going to create a solicitation, a contact list, if you will. And as the project develops and as information becomes available, we'll be reaching out. It'll be periodic in the beginning because the information is going to be coming in relatively slow, but it'll start accelerating sometime in March of next year. Now you can go to the next slide. As far as who we are, I mean, obviously Conti is a New Jersey contractor. We have a national presence, but we still have strong roots in this area. Our main office is in Middlesex County. We did build quite a bit in Newark Airport, and have been in New Jersey for over 100 years. FCC, as I stated, they're an international firm. They have a strong presence in the U.S. and are currently pursuing several projects here in the Northeast as well. So not just this project, but other projects, it'd be good to reach out to them. And obviously, a lot of the contractors here know Hunter Roberts. They're excel at building some really nice facilities, buildings, and other constructions, primarily in the New York market, but they have a strong presence in New Jersey and also in Pennsylvania. Mott McDonald, they have a global footprint and a really strong presence at EWR. You can go to the next slide. Our team has participated over the last few decades on about 58 projects at Newark Airport. So it's fair to say that we have a decent understanding of Port Authority as well as the facility itself, the needs of the client, making sure the passengers are reaching their destination safely. And obviously, we also understand the local community in the area, and we deal with a lot of local contractors. And next slide. For this project, there's some information missing on the construction side, but that's fine. This is a large program, so we're going to have a significant amount of work on this project, and some of these packages are going to be relatively large. It is our intention to actually break up some of those larger packages into more manageable construction packages to allow for more additional participation or more participation from smaller contractors. These are just some of the items. Like I said, there's a significant something happened with the slide here, but there's positive foundation structural concrete, there's building construction, there's going to be interior fit out, carpentry work, sheetrock finishes, tile. So there's a vast array of opportunities on this project, as well as logistics, transportation. There's going to be obviously some demolition work, all that. Like I said, it is our intent to actually break these up into more manageable packages. Now, the one thing I do want to make clear is that obviously you saw the timeline from the Port Authority. There is going to be a design period at the beginning. So there's going to be some, even if you're engaging with us now, I ask that you be a little patient, because as we receive this information from the Port Authority, we're going to have to disseminate it. And we're actually going to have to start detailing and preparing our design. So we may not reach out to you, with information to bid, let's say March. However, we do plan on communicating frequently. And as the other thing is, we'll probably host one of these events ourselves. We'll be attending conferences as a team, business fairs. We'll, I know that Mott McDonald has participated in or is a sponsor for the Competitive Edge and direct engagement. We are going to reach out to not only the people that are on the solicit that actually scanned in the QR code and filled out the information. We will be reaching out. We'll contact the Port Authority. We'll get their list of approved vendors, and we'll be reaching out to everyone on there. All right. Next slide. Again, we are committed to the community. We're a member of the community, so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that as many people or as many contractors participate in this program. Like I said, it's a large program. We can't build it on our own. Our team will need help, And I think that the community or the local community can support us in getting this done. We have a long history of working for the Port Authority. It's all right. And then we have a long history of working for the Port Authority and have completed many projects under these same programs in the past. If you have any questions, like I said, it could be either directed at me or any of our team members that are on. Basically, one team member from each firm is going to answer any questions that relates to them. Thank you. And thank you, Port Authority, for putting this together. And thank you for the participants for listening in.
So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mark Pereira. So I wasn't sure that you were facilitating, but I'm glad that you did. Good to meet you from the previous meeting. So next we have Liberty AirTrain Constructors, and Miss Gabrielle Rivers will be the facilitator. Ms. Rivers, you have the floor.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Rivers. I'm the Corporate Diversity Manager for Dragados USA. Next slide, please. Liberty AirTrain Constructors is comprised of Dragados USA, Halmar International, and Railroad Construction Company as the lead contractor team. And then the lead design team is comprised of COE Sistra, a joint venture between COE North America and Sistra Engineering. Some dedicated sub-consultants that are under the designs team is Heath and Lineback Engineers, Malik and Schur, Hawk Architects, Thornton Tomasetti, Dan Brown Associates, and Burrow Hopple. Next slide. Who we are as a team. So Liberty AirTrain Constructors has strategically assembled an experienced team of industry leaders. 3 projects I would like to highlight are the $1.8 billion Long Island Railroad expansion in Long Island from Hicksville to Floral Park. That was comprised of Dragados and Halmar, so we've worked together as a team. Another one is the Honolulu Area Rapid Transit, and that was a Sistra COE joint venture. And the following is the $1.2 billion LaGuardia Airport Terminal B, and that was Thornton Tomasetti Hawk have worked on that project. Next slide. So here are some of the opportunities we have. On the left are some design opportunities. So you have acoustic, BIM, geotechnical exploration, landscape, structural engineering, traffic analysis, vertical transportation engineering, mapping, signage, and that's all on the design side. And then under the construction side, you have excavation, reinforcing steel, traffic control, trucking, landscaping, electrical, fencing, plumbing. And these are just some of the scopes that we're looking at. There definitely will be more. This is a limited list here. As the design is being prepared, we will be reaching out with more detail and smaller scope packages that are more palatable for you guys to bid. With that, please make sure that your codes, your NAICS codes, are aligned with the scopes of work that we are soliciting, and that you're quoting and soliciting, giving a right scope of work for what is out there. Next slide. So community engagement, we host targeted one-on-one outreach meetings, and we'll start to do that once we're more active in the soliciting phase, like mentioned by the other shortlisted firms, more in the March 2024 timeframe. We also will be making the bid packages smaller and easily accessible, and we're going to provide the most of the time possible and the best point of contact for each scope of work. And also, we are going to partner with local organizations to assist with bonding and access to capital. And we'll be hiring local hire participation goals within the cities of Elizabeth and Newark. Next slide. And here's our contact information. So my contact information is up above. That's more for the construction side of the house. And then on the design side of the house, you have Danielle Booker. I don't know if she's on the call, but if she is, if anyone has any questions later on in the Q&A, please let us know and we'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that presentation, Ms. Rivers. So now we will turn it over to the last team, last but not least, Tudor Perini / ONG, a joint venture. And we have Miss Michelle Thompson Strickland. Miss Strickland, The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Thompson Strickland. I am the diversity coordinator here at Tudor Perini. Today on this call, we'll have Dennis McNerney, TPC project executive, and from Parsons, Jim Varney, who will be available for any questions you may have during the Q&A. We're pleased to have you here today to hear about the opportunities we have available for you. Next slide, please. Some of you may have worked with Tudor Perini in the past and others may have not. So we're going to say, who is Tudor Perini? Tudor Perini is a leading civil, building, and specialty construction company that offers diverse GC and design build services to private clients and public agencies. ONG is our joint venture partner. ONG is one of the leading providers of construction services and materials in the Northeast. TPOG for short, as a joint venture relationship that expands to over 30 plus years. Our design firm, Parsons Transportation Group, specializes in aviation infrastructure by meeting the needs of clients and the traveling public through planning, design, construction, and construction management of major projects. We also have Datner Architects and sorry about that. The Petrova Experience are also part of our team. Next slide, please. Next slide. TPOG is constantly looking for capable, certified, and local businesses in all aspects of the design and construction phases of the projects. On your screen, you'll see the design and construction scopes that we presently have. Some of the opportunities for the design aspect of the project are geotechnical, civil site design, landscape, structural design, fire life safety engineering, environmental engineering, and these are just a few of the scopes. For more information from the design aspect of the project, you may contact Gwen Johnson, who is the Director of Supplier Diversity at Parsons. The email address is smallbusinessprogram@parsons.com. That is smallbusinessprogram@parsons.com. For the construction opportunities, they include concrete work, miscellaneous metals, fence and guide rails, roofing, mechanical, HVAC, plumbing, and fire protection, just to name a few. General conditions like trucking, fuel, janitorial, office equipment, and supplies. Please note that this is not an all-inclusive list, but just an outline of some of the available opportunities that we have available. If you specialize in any of these scopes listed on the list in front of you, you may contact me directly at mthompson@perini.com. Also, you may contact Arlene McBean. She's the diversity administrator. Her email address is amcbain@perini.com. And we also have a job-specific email address. It is AirTrain@tudorperini.com. We will provide you with additional information. Next slide, please. Community engagement. We plan to utilize all mediums available to engage the community, the local community, by advertising through local papers like the Minority Commerce Weekly and Small Business Exchange. Subcontractors can view additional information on Tudor Perini website at www.tudorperini.com. We will also be conducting networking events as a team and different aspects of the contract as we move along. TPOG has successfully worked with the Port Authority, community relations groups, and others in previous projects, and we will continue to engage and seek additional referrals as the contract ensues. Smart Bid is what we use here for solicitation efforts. So we ask that you please look out for any updates that we have moving forward on this project. If you're interested in working on this project and you are not a part of our database, I ask that you also reach out to me directly. My email address again is mthompson@perini.com. Next slide, please. Next slide, thank you. We are very committed. No, can you go back for me, please? Thank you. We are fully committed to the relationship that we have with the Port Authority, and we promise to prioritize the counties of Newark and Elizabeth. We plan on engaging the subcontractors by developing work scopes for the local minority firms to compete, divide scopes into smaller portions where feasible and accessible, create a bid list based on the Port Authority certified firms that we have, reach out to the minority firms early, on time, and throughout the life of the project. We promise to foster diversity within diversity on this project moving on. Next slide, please. On the screen, you will see our pre-qualification registration form. This is a business registration form that is solely for the project. You can have this form by reaching out to me at mthompson@perini.com or the job-specific email, which is EWR@tutorperini.com for all your requests, inquiries, and any information you would like us to share with you. As the business registrations are received from you guys, they will be forwarded to the appropriate team members for procurement and opportunities. We ask that when you're filling out these forms, you ensure that all your contact information is up to date. Example, your NICS codes have been updated accordingly, and the scope that you are tendering for is ticked on the side. Next slide, please. TPOG would like to thank the Port Authority and all the attendees that are here today for the opportunity to speak with you. Again, for our contact information on your screen, myself, M. Thompson at Perini.com, Arlene McBain, the Compliance Administrator, A. McBain at Perini.com, and also our project-specific email, EWR@tutorperini.com. Thank you again.
So thank you, Michelle, and thank you to all the teams that just presented and made a presentation. So now we have our general Q&A section. There was one major request that all the folks who spoke provide contact information in the chat. Their email address is what was asked for in particular. So if you are not the preferred person with the email address, provide the email address of the individual who should receive communications from those who are in attendance. So thank you for that. So, Ray, is there any questions in particular that we need to address or identify in the chat?
Hey, Anthony, I know from before there was a question that came up for the Port Authority that we quickly want to discuss before getting
Okay.
into it for
Okay.
the shortlisted teams. I
Okay.
think this might be for a combination of you and Ray and Will.
Okay.
There's a question about LBEs. So can a firm have a branch office in Newark and considered as an LBE, or does the headquarter have to be in Newark?
That's a great question. I don't think there's any prerequisite stating that a firm cannot have a branch office. I think in addition to it being an office, it needs to be a real office with staff, right? We're not talking about like a Regis shared office space type situation. If you're going to say it's an office that's operated with staff and equipment and things of that nature. So I don't think a firm is prohibited based on the proposal that if they have a branch office, that they wouldn't be considered a LBE, but it needs to be a true office.
Yeah, and they also have to have been operating there. They can't move there specifically for this project. So you have to show that you've been a part of that community, that you've been there and you have been operating, and that your project, the only project you have is not this one. You have to show that there's other projects that you have that's happening out of that office. And we should look to see if we can provide more information, or I think GoCore may be able to provide more information on that as well. But that's something that we will look into and show in terms of what's considered a local office. But mainly as what Anthony said, it has to be a real office, not a mailbox or anything, a real operating office. And you have to have been there for a while pre-project, not just opening an office specifically to work on this project.
And if I may add to that, so just for transparency, our outreach office in Newark and Elizabeth have been operating over 2.5 years in those communities. So if you have an office there, they're going to know. And if you don't, they're going to know as well, right? So just for full transparency.
They heard you loud and clear, Anthony. That was well
Okay.
noted. So now for everyone in attendance, again, thank you for your time. We hope you found this very informative. What we'd like to do is a general Q&A section, but this would be specific to the 4 shortlisted teams you've just heard from. So what we'll do is we'll review a question, and all 4 teams will answer that same question. So that way everyone can get what they need from each of the teams equitably. So we'll give everyone a minute. If you want to ask some questions in the chat, again, each of the 4 shortlisted teams will respond. Do see one I think I see some traction on back and forth here that I'll ask each of the teams, and we'll just kind of change up the order a little bit. We'll go in reverse with Michelle to start. Michelle, can you please let us know what the TPOG team means when they say smaller scopes? So the question is, package sizes will vary by scope. Some scopes are easier to break up than others. So I guess what would TPOG define as a smaller scope?
Dennis, are you online?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So the question is, package sizes will obviously vary by scope, and some scopes are easier to break up than others. What do you all define as a smaller scope, one that's broken up, I guess, in terms of size, or if you have some examples of the trades that you've noted?
So, a smaller scope would depend upon what exactly the trade is. It could range anywhere from, a couple of $100,000 to a couple of million. But that would, again, it would normally we're going to do research, and we're going to see what firms are available and analyze them, and then see what type of what size scopes we think they can handle. So I don't think that there's not an exact like dollar. I can't say 100,000 or 100 million or 10 million, but it's going to be commensurate with the available firms. And we're going to tend to work with the companies that are interested in working with us so that we could fit you in. And we're not going to set parameters that, may exclude companies. We're going to do what we can to include everybody.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you, Dennis. I think then working through the other teams, Gabrielle or someone from the Liberty AirTrain Constructors team, same question. What do you find as a small scope, or what trades will be broken up?
So that was Dennis Capolino. He was part of AirTrain Constructors. I think Michelle meant to ask her Dennis with Tudor Perini.
Thank you.
But thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I heard
you.
Dennis.
No, all good. It was going to come around either way. So in that case, Michelle, if anyone from your team, you have a different Dennis, who can give some clarity to the question.
Dennis McNerney, are you online? Guess not.
And we can always come back. Thanks, Michelle. Then with
Okay,
that, how
thank you.
about, yeah, of course, Mark with the CFH Partners team. Any clarity there of breaking up packages? And
I'm sorry, I was having trouble with my microphone.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
All right. No.
Could you repeat the question? I apologize.
No, not a problem. So the question is that obviously, smaller scope can mean a lot of things when it comes to breaking up contracts. What does your team define as a smaller scope, or which trades will be breaking up into smaller packages so we know where the opportunity lies? Oh, Dennis, are you there?
Yeah, someone just threw me off. All right, I'm back. So when we look at the contracts, We will break it up to basically whatever the need of a contract. If they're a smaller subcontractor, we're willing to work with them. Obviously, if it gets too small, we can't, but we're willing to split things up. Or if we have a larger subcontractor with us, we can always hand them to one of our subs to be a smaller portion of that. But we try to basically utilize any opportunity we can. So if you meet with us, we'll review that you can handle the scope. We're willing to work with everyone who is capable to do the job.
Wonderful. That's helpful. Thank you, Dennis. Then I think go back to Mark and the CFH Partners team. Some question about smaller scopes and breaking up packages.
Yeah, again, this is it's one of those things. When we get closer, we'll actually start getting a better understanding of how things are shaking out. But ultimately, there's certain scopes that you really can't divide too much. For instance, an electrical in a building, you're not going to separate it by each room. You're going to have one contract to do the building, but you can still source that work to MWB contractors. But for when the smaller packages, now you're talking about like utility relocations or concrete repairs, landscaping, that kind of stuff, you can actually break up into manageable packages around certain areas. So that way it's a clearly defined scope within a certain section of the project. That kind of thing we can do. So my response was a little vague, but it's going to be scope dependent, depending on the type of scope we're awarding. Then we're going to be able to identify the contractors that can fit that need and break up the packages so they can actually service that.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. Mark, and I recommend to all those who have maybe similar questions, reach out directly to the team so that we get a sense of your trade will be broken up further. I think just
Absolutely.
to round it out. Yeah, of course. And then David, please, Mark.
Yeah, the one thing I do wanted to say, there is a decent lead time on between now and the time when you are actually going to be submitting pricing for this project. So anybody that doesn't have an MBE certificate with the Port Authority, now's a good time to get started, right? Because there's plenty of time for this process to get underway.
Yeah, absolutely. Great plug for Port Authority certifications. And then lastly, David Matthew with Liberty Aerial Partners. If you or anyone from your team want to discuss how you break up packages or what you define as a smaller scope package.
Thank you, Raquel. For me personally, I think all packages could be broken up. Thank you, Mark, for touching on certain points before. But with all packages here, the packages that we listed before, some big things like electrical, plumbing, painting, paving, trucking, especially final cleaning, field office cleaning. Those are some scopes that if it's not directly engage with us as a subcontractor. Our non-minorities know that, hey, there is a goal within their contract, which we do point them in the right direction of which subcontractors and who to speak to, and try to get them on board and try to get the ball rolling. But with every package, I believe it can be broken up, whether it be I know some subcontractors use supplies. Different labor. You definitely could sub out labor. That's a big portion of it. Most non-minorities like to do that, but it's something that has to be done. I know we all want to make money here, but that is something that needs to be done. So I think that all packages should be broken up. And if I don't know, I can point you in the right direction to the estimator that does know. But do reach out to our Liberty Aerial at Skanska.com. Thank you.
Perfect. Great answer. Thank you, David. I think while I have you, maybe we'll just go back the other with questions. Another question that's arisen is, can you please describe the general scope of work for anything landscape architectural services for your team?
Okay, and then you say architectural on the design side or construction side? Because I know we have both. If it's design, I can definitely forward, reach out to us at our email. I can forward you to the right person handling the landscaping design side of it. Architectural side of it. When it comes to construction, I know landscaping is usually something that's later on in the project. So definitely reach out early, just so you get your name out there.
Yeah, makes sense. Then I think, how about Gabrielle, your team, if you can, or somebody from Liberty AirTrain Constructors could describe the work for landscape architectural services.
Yes, absolutely. So if it is for the design side, like I think it says in the chat, the best to reach out to would be Danielle. and her email is in the slides. Danielle, are you online? Don't believe I saw her, but
Yeah, this is Preston Vineyard from COE as well. I could fill in. Yeah, we will be looking for some architectural design services regarding the landscaping. So definitely reach out. Earlier the better.
great, thank you.
And then Anthony, if you want anything to clarify there.
Not on that particular point, just overall, I would like each team, so it's clear to the audience if there's a pre-qualification process for each team, what that is, right? So they can start it now and know who to contact to do that, because I don't want that to be lost with, they talk about the opportunities and the packages, but is there a pre-qualification for firms to be considered for bidders on those packages?
Do you want me to answer that to start, Anthony?
Sure.
Sure, you're on camera, absolutely.
Okay, so there's no exact pre-qualification process for the joint venture. We do have a website for you to register. That website is provided in the slide deck, as well as if you email us, we will send you the link to register to our website. With that, we'll take that information and we'll add you to the solicitation. So when more information arises on the project, we will reach out, and then we will talk more in detail about the insurance requirements and the bonding requirements that are required as part of the contract.
Okay, thanks very much, Gabrielle.
Thank you.
So then why don't we go to Michelle? I guess same two questions. One, if you could talk about your certification process for the TPOG team, and then any details about landscape architectural services.
What we have is the job specific business registration form that I showed on the slide previously. So if the subcontractors could complete that, email it to the job specific email, which is EWR@tudaperini.com. We will provide all the additional information once we receive those forms from you.
Great, thank you. And then I don't know if Michelle or somebody from your team can walk through the need for landscape services.
Sure, it's
So for landscape services, like the other teams, we'll also have the opportunities. So forward your information and we'll get you in touch with the right people.
Okay, thank you again, Dennis. Then I'll turn it over back to Mark from CFH Partners to walk through if you're in the certification process and those landscape architectural services.
All right, for the architectural landscape services, I think that there's a representative from Mott McDonald listening in. He can chime in as far as their needs are concerned. From a construction standpoint, once we have the drawings, obviously we'll share that information with local landscapers or local contractors. For the pre-cert certification, we don't have one, but we do, obviously, when we receive quotes, we de-scope, we discuss the project with the people who are the contractors that are submitting them. We assess their capabilities and all that goes into play. All right, but once we get going, we will be sharing information on insurance, bonding requirements, and all that as part of the regular communication with the vendors.
Great, thank you, Mark. That was one of the questions about bonding requirements. So it'll be something the subcontractors are certainly interested in.
Yeah, for smaller contractors, typically we don't require them to bond. You know, obviously, as the packages get larger, it might change. And I don't know if there's anybody on for Mott to discuss the landscaping architectural services.
Yes, I'm on the line, Mark. This is Marco Lavoyer. I'm a senior vice president with Mott McDonald. We're the lead designer for CFH AirTrain Partners. Obviously, there will be a need for landscape services for this project. There are many areas adjacent to wetlands or existing areas that will need to be restored as part of the project. So there will be a need for that. Mark shared the QR code to allow potential partner firms to reach out to us and be able to engage with us regarding those services. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, so I think we've run through everyone, but if David from Liberty Aerial Partners, if you would mind describing your certification process for your team, if there is one.
Thank you, Raquel. So certification for Skanska, there is no pre-qualification. I think this was Anthony's question before. There is no pre-qualification with all three entities, us being Liberty Air Rail partners. We do our searches based on a PA, NYNJ directory. Send out a BSR, buyout solicitation request, via email, fax, calling, 3 points of contact. Then hopefully, they sharpen their pencil, submit a significant quote. And then with that, put them on a leveling sheet and hopefully they battle it out. But as far as anyone being pre-qualified with us, no, I don't think there's nothing of that sort.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And actually, again, while we have you, David, I know a couple of teams already touched upon it. Are there any bonding requirements for your subcontractors?
I know bonding requirements for us. I can't touch on that right now, so definitely please send me an email to Liberty Air Rail, and I can point you to the right person who can talk on that.
Understood. Thanks again, David. Then I think let's loop back to Michelle, if you can enlighten us if there's any bonding requirements for subcontractors or any tiers of that.
Like David, I wouldn't have that information right now. I'd have to direct that question to our VP of estimating.
No, okay, sounds good. I'm seeing a couple more come through. What we have you, Michelle, is can you describe, or somebody from your team, what type of special inspections will be required for the construction portion of work?
Dennis?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Repeat that, please.
Sure. What type of special inspections will be required for the construction portion of the work, if any?
So there's definitely special inspection until we get the final designs. We don't know exactly, but we definitely will have opportunities for all the standard special inspections. So I would say that, like, again, send us your information, and once we get a more defined scope, we'll definitely reach out.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Then David, Matthew, if any of your team can discuss the type of special inspections required for construction.
Same with Dennis. There is special inspections on the project. Can definitely point you to the estimator handling special inspections if you guys want to get engaged on that scope of work. But as for right now, I don't know personally. Thank you.
Not a problem. I'll regroup. Okay, how about Gabrielle, you or Dennis from your team on requirements for special inspections?
Yeah, very much like the other two have said, there's definitely going to be special inspection, but, with having preliminary design and preliminary RFP, it's very hard to say exactly what it's going to be required. So please, if you do special inspection, please give your information to us, email us, and we'll add you to, the list of people that have reached out, as well as we'll do our own due diligence in going out to the directory. But that's the best answer I could give for now. I think get on our list, and when special inspection comes up in the solicitation and bidding time, we'll definitely reach out to ask for a official proposal.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Gabrielle. And then same question over for you, Mark of CFH.
Yeah, so yes, definitely. There is going to be an extensive QC program on the project. So there are going to be inspections required as part of the process. I agree with the other respondents. At this point, it's a little difficult to say the quantity, but they can expect that there will be. Like I said, scan in, put your information in, and as soon as the information starts becoming available, we'll share with everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And I think while I have you, we're going to have one final team for all of our shortlisted proposers here. So it's a question for everyone. Have shortlisted teams already identified MBE subcontracting or subconsultants to be part of their proposals? Or is it still in the process? Are you still in the process of identifying them? And so what's the time frame? Oh, sure. Please, Mark.
No, we're still in the process. I mean, it's early in the process. We really can't, you can't commit at the RFQ level, just because of the fact that there's not really that much information you can share with any of the proposed vendors. Now that we started into the RFP process, now is when we go through the process of reaching out to the vendors, giving them information so that they can quote, giving them drawings, having everybody sign an NDA, of course, because that's the other thing everybody has to be aware of. You have 4 different participants here. You may be giving prices to 4 people. We may have 4 completely different designs and different requirements. They're not going to be completely different, but they will be different. So you're going to work up 4 proposals.
No, understood. Aligns with the process. Then, Gabrielle and your team, again, have you identified any MWEs, or are you still in the process of identifying them?
So there was some identified in the early RFQ proposal stage, but we still are identifying as there is a contract goal and we are committed to achieving that goal. So obviously we'll still be reaching out and still soliciting MWs throughout the life of the contract as well as the rest of the proposal.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Michelle, how about from the TPOG team?
For the TPOG team, we have not identified any MWBE or SDVOB as yet. We are still in the process. It's quite early, so we can't commit as yet. But once the subs provide us with information, they'll be added to our database and additional information will be passed on to them as we move forward.
Understood. Helpful context. And then lastly, Dave Matthew, to wrap it up again, about are you still in the process of identifying subcontractors from the MWB community?
Yes, that's still ongoing. Good faith efforts never sleeps. That's from early engagement to the end of the project. So, still going, still ongoing.
Wonderful. Glad to hear it. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our MC, Anthony, for final thoughts.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to say and highlight that the Port Authority's effort to partner and create opportunities for you guys are intentional, right? Us bringing these shortlisted partners here with enough lead time for you to develop relationships, to get your certifications in order that may not have them in order, or to expand them that who are certified and expand your certification. So again, these efforts and these relationships and the process in which we create this is intentional. So I want to say thank you to our aviation team, the AirTrain team, for being willing and open to having these type of events. Thank you to our shortlisted plan holders and partners who are looking to submit bids and become that one team that wins this opportunity and provide opportunities to you all that's on the call. And thank you for being here and taking the time and asking the questions and putting yourself in position to be successful. So with that, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort and look forward to talking to you in the near future. Have a great afternoon, all.
Thank you all. Thanks, Anthony.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for putting this together.
No problem.
Thank you.